Hey guys, welcome to Cooking with Chase. Today we are talking about beef bourguignon, and we're going to serve that with a pomme puree and some little kind of crispy bits. So this is going to be, I think, kind of a two-part episode a little bit. We're going to talk about braising the meat in this one, and then the next episode we're going to talk about the pomme puree or mashed potatoes and kind of how to make those really, really decadent and kind of what's going on with the potatoes when you're cooking them and why sometimes your potatoes feel clumpy or gluey. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the ingredients you'll need for today's dish are a braising cut of beef. You can use red wine. We had a Guinness, which works great, a dark porter-like beer, some beef or chicken stock, and then some kind of mirepoix vegetables here. So that'll be onions, celery, carrots. Then we've got some herbs, which are thyme, rosemary, some bay leaf, and some garlic. Okay, so we're going to talk about the beef that you're using for this dish. So you can use, there's a whole bunch of different cuts. When I was working at Biff's, we used actually short rib, deboned short rib. This is top sirloin, a roast, like a pot roast. You want something that's really got a lot of connective tissue, a lot of sinew in it, something that needs a lot of time to break down. And then this roast came together, and what I did last night, when we weren't filming, unfortunately, is I just cut into portions. So I made these kind of nice little cubes that are weighed about 9 ounces is kind of a portion. Because once you cook it down, it loses quite a bit of liquid and all that. So it'll end up being kind of 6 to 8, depending on how much liquid is lost during the cooking process. And this is really nice to do because braising can kind of be a little bit of it can be difficult to serve, right? It's so soft to cut afterwards that this allows you to kind of take a portion out. So this roast I think was $15-ish, something in there. We got 6 very generous portions for adults. You could cut this in half for kids, no problem. So we're going to go ahead and get these searing. Okay, so we're at the stove here. The first stage of this dish is to sear off your beef. Just like a steak, this is where you're going to start to develop that really deep beef flavor, the Maillard reaction of all the sides. And this is the other advantage. You can see my pans are smoking in the back. I've got them preheated. But this is the advantage of also cutting it into smaller portions. You now have 6 sides to these meat cubes. Disgusting word. To develop this caramelization. The other advantage is it cuts down on cooking time. And I think the third thing is I seasoned these last night. And just let the salt sit on them overnight, so you're not going to see me add any salt, and you'll be shocked because you always see me add salt. But it allows the salt to get closer. Like if you think of this as a whole roast, the salt penetrating from the outside to the middle is quite difficult. It's a long journey to the center of the roast. Whereas these guys are much closer, right? It's like a thinner steak, so the salt can get in there much easier. So we're going to get these searing, and that's really what you want to hear. And this is something where, you're going to spend all day on this, right? This is going to be in your oven. It's going to be making your house smell really nice. So we don't want to be rushing at all. So I'm not crowding my pans. Just getting 3 in there per. And I'm just going to slowly rotate them. Get all the sides super, super deeply caramelized. I didn't put any pepper on this, because these really are going to be searing for a long time, and I do not want that pepper to burn, so we'll just be adding that to the liquid. So I'm going to go ahead and start searing these off, and this is going to be kind of probably a 20-minute journey, so we'll kind of come back, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so my beef's kind of going for a couple minutes here. There's not really time on this, heat dependent, what kind of pan you're using, all that stuff, so this is what you're looking for color-wise. Deep, dark brown, just like if you were searing a steak, right? That's kind of the color you're going for. So we're just going to flip these guys. Moist. And let the next side start getting that color on there too. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me with my beef sizzling very loudly in the background here. But we're going to talk about sachet. So sachet is just a packet of herbs, a satchel of herbs in French, right? So what we're going to do is make a little packet of herbs to go into our stock. And the advantage of this is that with stuff like the thyme and the rosemary, all the leaves will come off and kind of float about. Which, if you don't do this, is not like a big deal. This just kind of keeps everything together. The liquid still travels through it, just like a sieve or a strainer. So it takes up all that flavor, but the leaves don't kind of disintegrate. So the best way to kind of do it, I always just try to kind of keep, if you have bay leaf, keep the bay leaf on the outside, and it kind of like creates a little package right there. Kind of see that almost like a cigar, right? And I'm just going to take some string here. This is just butcher's twine, so we say butcher's twine. And there's lots of videos of people doing very, very fancy like French ties on this and stuff. But I never really learned how to do that, and my food always tasted okay, so use your giant sausage fingers to get that into there, and then just do whatever knot you're kind of comfortable with. Perfect. Yeah, so now you got this nice little bundle, right? Everything's kind of being held in. Some stuff's going to come off, and that's completely fine. It's not the end of the world whatsoever, but this will make it a little easier when we're braising and it's simmering in the oven for all those hours. So, smoky in here, because we got searing beef, loud, we got searing beef, but we're ready to take these off, and this is really what you're looking for at this point. You see that deep, consistent color all around there. Right, super nice. So this is what you're looking for, is this deep, beautiful, consistent color. You want to keep all of this fat in your pot here. This is where we're going to add our vegetables. We're going to deglaze with our beer. I'm just going to pull it off the heat because it's a smoky situation. But you can really see, let's just bring this back over the board. Look at this. So a couple things happen. One thing happened off camera is you can see the, if you come in here, Ty, there's big connective tissue running through it, right? Which as the meat cooks, those things render at they cook at different speeds. So these big kind of weaknesses appeared. Not a big deal at all. You just take some string and you tie it around. Is that showing up on camera? And you just tie it around to kind of keep your little bundle together, and when we'll serve it, we'll pop it off. Because after it cooks and shrinks, it'll all kind of become a little bit more homogeneous. So I think I might tie a string around there. This guy there especially, because it looks like it might kind of come off when we're braising. So just cut a little piece of twine. Get underneath. Get a little meat cube. You're not doing anything fancy here. Doesn't need to be crazy, crazy tight. Just kind of a little insurance that that's gonna stay together. So, we're gonna talk about our vegetables, get our mirepoix ready, get that to the pot, start deglazing, and then we'll get these guys in the oven. Okay, we're talking about veggies now. So we've seared our beef. It's beautiful, and that's ready to go. You know, and this is a dish that, like, I think people used to do like pot roast more, right? And this is just really a kind of elevated pot roast. Like the technique of just slow cooking a cheap, inexpensive cut of beef for a long time is, I think we've all experienced that growing up. But when you portion it out like this and you really take that time to caramelize all 6 sides, you put the vegetables in at the right time and you do all of these things, it really pushes it into something that's really, really special. And like for me, like, I don't know, turkey's good, but like, man, on like a holiday dinner, someone brought out this, that'd be pretty nice. And the nice thing is you can do all of this the day before and then just reheat it for service, for family dinner. So like zero stress, right? No family over and kids running around. You cook it the day before Christmas and then just warm it up and easier. Make it. Okay, so we're not doing a lot to these veggies, right? Because this is all going to get strained out. This is going to get cooked for so long in the oven, there's not going to be anything left. any like texture or flavor or nutritional value in these vegetables. So these are just to get flavor into the beef and into the sauce, because we're going to be making a jus, the sauce out of the braising liquid for the potatoes and beef. So I'm just cutting the onions in half, taking off the skins. My pan's obviously still hot over here, and I'm just throwing them in. Just cut side down and just letting those go. And you can see how dark that fat is already. That's almost like brown butter, like the beef fat. Garlic, I'm not going to do anything to. I'm just going to leave whole in the skin, right? It's going to cook and render out and basically disappear. So those can just get tossed in like that. Celery, I thought that was dirt. I think it's just like bruising on there. So I'm not going to be too worried about that. And your ratio usually is, kind of when you're doing a French mirepoix, is like kind of 3-2-1. Like 3 parts onion, 2 parts celery, 1 part carrot. Just kind of a good rough idea. You want the most onion. And this is, we're not going to use all this celery, but I'm just going to kind of cut it into inch pieces. And then just right down there by the root, I'm going to discard that. And then I just wanted a couple more pieces from the top of this one. Okay. Because what happens is the carrot is so sweet, there's so much sugar in it that if you put too much carrot in, it gets really stewy. Like sweet stew. And we just want the nice kind of earthy vegetableness to come through. I'm kind of doing the same thing. 4 pieces, right? None of this is ever going to reach the plate. Going like that. At this point we can season, because I did not season these vegetables the night before. And then we add a little bit of pepper as well. We haven't added any pepper yet to the dish. And we're just going to give those a minute to kind of like pick up a little bit of color, maybe like that. That roasted. If you put these in when the liquid is boiling, you get onion flavor. Now we're getting roasted onion flavor, right? Sure, use your tongs to turn down your heat elements so you look real cool. Yeah. Okay. So I'm happy with that, right? Like you can see this color, almost the same color as beef, and it's just super, super nice. Sugar is starting to develop. It's fantastic. So we're gonna crack open a beer. Party. No. We're gonna deglaze with that. So again, this could be red wine. This could be another kind of dark beer. Quality control. Tastes like Guinness. It's amazing. I use about probably half to 2/3 of that can. And then we want to cook this out. Just like anytime you're adding alcohol, you want to cook off the alcohol flavor a little bit. So we're going to reduce this down. And then we're going to add our beef back in. And then our chicken stock, which again could be beef stock. And at this point, you're going to say a shake. Chuck that off into the corner there. Perfect. So we're going to let this reduce down a little bit, then we're going to beef in the pan. Okay, so this is reduced down. I'm not sure by how much, but this is a taste thing, right? So you want to like kind of go in. You're tasting as you go along, and it basically shouldn't be bitter anymore. Like that alcohol should go on, start to sweeten up. It's hard to tell you like how much to come down by because the vegetables are also releasing liquid and stuff. So you kind of just have to taste it. When it tastes sweet and rich, and deep, you know you're in a good spot. You know? And most people, like I said, don't do any of these steps, right? When they're braising, they kind of just throw everything in a pot, throw it in the oven, it's good. So every step we've taken here, right? We've caramelized the beef, deglazed, reduced, vegetables, all of these things are adding another layer of flavor. So if you don't reduce it quite enough, you're still going above what I think a lot of people do at home. So at this point, we're ready to add our beef back in. What you want to do is kind of just find some little houses for it. Find a little home for your little beef cubes. You know, sometimes it's pushing vegetables around, making little spouts. Maybe I got to move that sachet up there. That's okay. There, and then, you know, I'm sure all of you are aware. Oh, look at that. It's actually full fit. I was worried for a minute. Okay. Just trying to get it all sitting kind of down on the same level. So when the braising liquid's in there, that's pure flavor. So we're going to not waste any of that. So we go into the pan there. And then I'm just going to top this up with chicken stock. And we're going to bring it up to a boil and get her in the oven. I'm going to grab some more chicken stock. You want it just, you don't want everything fully submerged. You can have a little bit of the beef kind of peeking its head out there. And that's perfect. And then we're just going to get that sachet and kind of get that off to the side. This is going to come up to a boil really quickly because everything's hot. The vegetables are hot. The beef is still warm. We're going to pop a lid on. And you really want a heavy lid, ideally, for this. It'll work if you cover it in tin foil. But these like Lodge ones or a Dutch oven, pretty ideal for this situation, yeah, because it kind of really keeps the liquid from reducing. Because this is very simple at this point. We've done all the hard work. Now it's just kind of waiting and then reaping the rewards. But the real danger is that the liquid's going to over-reduce in the oven if you don't keep an eye on it, and it'll burn. That's the biggest fear. So these Dutch ovens are very useful for keeping that. You can already see we're almost at a boil here. And that's just from, like I said, the beef being warm, the vegetables being hot, the pan was hot, and we only added probably 2 cups of chicken stock, maybe 3, but it wasn't that much, right? Because we're only filling the spaces. It looks like a ton of liquid in here, but we're just filling the voids of where there isn't vegetable and beef. And this step is really important, just for cooking time. If you fill this up with cold chicken stock and put it in the oven, it will take so long to get up to heat, right? Whereas, because what your goal is you're getting it hot, and then the oven is maintaining the heat. The oven is really terrible at heating things up, like liquids, because they're just so dense. You know, you really need that element directly at the bottom of your pan. Okay. All right, okay, so good. So good. And you can do this with like a bunch of different flavors of stuff. I mean, this is like a really classic French kind of whatever. Beef burgie or pot roast or whatever you want to call it. But you could do this with like Middle Eastern spices, right? Put this over rice if you had beef. Get some coriander and fennel and sumac, and that could be your flavoring agents. You could put peppers in there if you wanted, and kind of go down to kind of gumbo Louisiana style thing and braise it like that. Again, put that over rice or over potatoes or something like that, like roasted potatoes. It's this technique of searing your meat, sauteing your vegetables, bringing this up to temp. Doing all of this is what's giving you the result, right? It's not, everything else is just flavor. Okay, so I can see bubbles coming through there. Lots of wisp of steam. I am pretty pleased with that. We don't need this at a rolling boil, but you see we got bubblage action going on there. So I'm good to pop this lid on. And we're going to stick this guy in the oven. I've got my oven at 350. You can do it at 325 if you wanted. Our oven seems to run a little cold. So like if your oven's calibrated, 325 is probably right, but I've kind of found ours 350 works. Okay, we'll see you in like 3 hours. Oh my gosh. Don't drop your scissors in the oven. Hey guys, we're back with our braised beef here after about 5 hours, thereabouts. It has not been in the oven that long, but since we started the process. The beef is obviously completely cooked, but you want to give it, as delicious as it smells, you can't just go in and start serving right away. You want to give it a chance to rest, mellow out, do this. Honestly, this is best done the day before and then re-warmed to get like the best texture of the beef. But as long as you let it chill for a couple hours before you eat it, that's totally fine. So let's take a look. Okay, so you can see that the beef is, you can't really see. how do I describe this? But you can see the beef isn't falling apart when I pick it up, and that's important, right? Braising is, it's like cooking a steak, right? But there's kind of a moment when it's done, and then you're overcooking it. You know, just because the meat is soft does not mean it's not overcooked. So you kind of want to catch it right before so it's not disintegrating, because that's how you get that mushy, unpleasant mouthfeel. So right now what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of, right, so this is really good. See I can pick this up, barely pick this up without it falling apart. This is exactly where you kind of want it, right? But still a cohesive piece. So, tasty. Okay, so we're going to grab a plate, and we're going to pull out the beef. And then we're going to strain off the vegetables, take out the sachet, and reduce down our sauce a little bit here. You can see how much the pieces shrunk. They become very reasonable for a portion. That's why I kind of have to go so big initially. I'm just going to put those off to the side. And this, you don't want to be agitating it and stirring it as much as you can to keep your sauce as clear as possible. You just want to kind of pour it off, and we're not going to press it. So they call that an unpressed drain or strain, right? So some recipes will call where you drain it and you're pushing the matter through. This, you really don't want to do that because it will make your sauce cloudy, because you're also pushing like vegetable matter through the sieve. So we're just going to push it off, let it be, let it drain for a minute. But we're going to reduce it slightly. I know it's another episode. You can probably catch the potatoes cooking in the background. Then we're going to go to plate a little bit here. Okay, so we've had our vegetables and jus or gravy, braising liquid, whatever you want to call it, draining for a couple minutes here. You could go longer, but kind of you just wanted to go where it's not really dripping anymore, right? So I'm pleased with that. So I'm just going to get this over here for now. And I know it may seem wasteful, but there's nothing nutritional left in those vegetables. You know, it's a carrot and 2 onions and a celery stick, right? And that's gone to make a meal for 6 or 7 people. So it's just kind of the way it is. But there's no nutrition left in it. It's all been cooked out of it. So you really don't want to serve that. And you especially don't want to be pressing it, because you lose all the clarity in your sauce here. So we're going to get this in to a sauce pot. We're going to reduce this a little bit, right? You can see the deep, deep color that's come from that. And this stuff is gold, so spend the time, get a little spatula, don't waste any of it. Let's gonna get this quick little taste of the seasoning. Oh my god, falling apart of the brooms here. See where we're at for seasoning. Wow. Woo. Okay. We're good. And it may need a touch of salt, but we're going to be doing a reduction on it, so we don't want to add our salt then till the end. I brought out some red wine vinegar, because sometimes after cooking stuff for that long, you want to brighten it up with a little bit of acidity. This still has quite a bit of tang from the Guinness, so we'll see how it kind of cooks down, but it's tasting really great right now. And if you were doing this the day before, what you would do is you would have this liquid strained off in the fridge, right? When people come over and you're getting ready for dinner, you would get this liquid back up, and you would take your beef from the fridge and warm it back up in this liquid, right? Because we're going to be plating one when it's still warm, we're not going to do that. But that's how you would do it. That's how we did it in the restaurant, right? We'd have everything portioned out, we'd have our jus, warm it up in our jus, kind of do a little bit of baste in it, get it nice and sticky, and then we'd go to plate. And it was actually better than kind of the way we're doing it today. So we'll get a little bubble going on this, and we'll come back and check it out. Okay, we are back and we are plating. So if you followed along on this journey, you have braised perfect beef. You have made it beautiful, get a jus reduction out of a braising liquid. You have made perfect mashed potatoes, in my opinion, perfect mashed potatoes. And now we're putting this on the plate. You know, and there is some stuff where I fiddly fire with tweezers and I do this because it's fun. But some food I think is just so kind of honest and pure in what it is that you don't do nothing. And this is one of those plates. So there are 3 components to plating this: is your beef, your potatoes, and your jus. No garnish. If you had some roasted vegetables you want to add, go ahead. But this is how I would plate it. Okay. So large spoon. You're not going to make quenelle necessarily, but you're going to kind of take a really nice scoop. Okay. You use a large spoon so you're not scooping onto the plate. You just have one nice scoop. Now, because if this, you know, I'm doing it in front of you guys, I'm going to grab our braised piece of beef. What I think? You just place that into your potatoes there. Have one of your saucing spoons. That's not what I want. I have all my saucing spoons. No, whatever. Do this. Excuse me. This jus is not sticky because there's no gelatin in it. You just hit a little bit on top just to make it look shiny. Then you flood the plate a little bit. This stuff is concentrated. That's it. No garnish, no nothing. Just doesn't need it. It's just a perfectly cooked piece of beef. It's perfect potatoes. So thanks very much for watching, guys. And it's probably a long one. It's actually 2-parter in a lot of ways. We really appreciate you watching. Be sure to tag me and Chase Rose. You know, hashtag #CurrentChase. Stay home, stay safe, eat well, and enjoy. Yes. Thanks for watching. Why don't you watch another video? Like this one right here. Or subscribe right here. Stay home, stay safe, eat well. Thanks.